Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air at 3:43 p.m. Severe thunderstorm warning, including portions of Flagler and Putnam counties. At least, sliver of Flagler and Putnam counties here until 4 p.m. So we just need to be very mindful of what's going on here. Some damaging winds, some hail to about 1 inch in diameter of possibility. So just need to be tracking that there. Talking about a severe thunderstorm located near Fruitland or near Pomona Park, moving southeast at 20 miles an hour. That's that lightning threat that can happen whether you have a severe warning or not. I know we've really seen that come into play lately, but speaking about this storm, Crescent City, Pomona Park, Fruitland, Willaca, Lake Como, and Georgetown there. Those are the areas we're most concerned about till about 4 o'clock. There could be hail damage, maybe a little bit of hail damage to vehicles in an isolated case of possibility, but wind damage would be more likely here with roof side and a tree or two, some limbs, things like that. So we're just going to have to be mindful of, those risks here as we're looking toward portions of northeastern Florida. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning until 4 o'clock for portions of Flagler, west central Flagler, and in southeastern Putnam counties. That's what we're talking. So you just got to be inside, away from windows here. You see all that lightning, which is, a dangerous hazard in of itself. That wind energy looks like around Georgetown, especially though we're going to look pretty high up on the radar because the radar in Jacksonville is still down. So looking from the Moody radar, I might be better off, honestly, than looking from the Melbourne radar this far south. Yeah, we are. It's a little bit closer. So I'm going to look all the way from the Melbourne radar there. You do see some wind enhancement, maybe a little weak rotation right over the water there. Not, too far from shore, though. So have to be cognizant that even a water spout's not out of the question here. Just, gets further off toward the south. But that lightning, just whenever thunder roars, you really got to go indoors. I know sometimes you want to keep on staying outside here up in the middle of something. That goes for me as well, but it's a situation. We've had two really bad incidents there involving, lightning striking people here over the last few days within the covered area. We'll go ahead and go to our mapping here so you can see the counties that I'm talking about here within our region. So let's take you to this source. You see St. Johns County yesterday. We're talking about 3 people impacted. One, especially those, it really impacted, and were in critical condition the last I heard, so not good news there. One person really impacted, and in the Ware County. So St. John's was yesterday, St. Augustine Pier area, but then on Thursday, around Waresboro, not far from Waycross in Ware County, 2 young people struck by lightning and killed. So just awful, awful, awful news, obviously, as we're talking about those, situations here with that electrical energy. It doesn't matter if you have severe weather or not, if it's a severe designation or not. There can be lightning around. It can strike pretty far from the apparent thunderstorms. You have to be really careful here in these type of situations. I know. Just continuing to give you guys the very latest here, and we're tracking things, and we're monitoring the situation. We're just going to go ahead and see where else we might want to go here with things. I'll go ahead and switch back on over to this viewpoint here. You see there's abundant lightning around St. Augustine right now, even though there's not a severe warning, there's a special marine warning, but not meeting the criteria on the wind or hail threats to get the yellow box to pop up there. But we could still have deadly lightning. Same, Clay County, that lightning there. As we're looking southern, southeastern Flagler County, especially though into Volusia. You see other lightning areas as well. I need to go to the broad perspective here. Bear with me, there's quite a few things I can point out on this map. You have all the energy in that purple, that dark purple especially. That is energy where we have over 5,000 joules per kilogram of surface-based CAPE. So thunderstorms, continue to be likely here. As we look ahead, we have a severe warning to the west of the area. Storms, in our western areas, lightning there toward McCullough County and the like, Leon somewhat. Getting into Decatur County there too. Looks like some are toward Albany. South side of that going there toward Bacon and Putney and the like. And then you do also, see that blue circle area. There's more chance of West could get issues. Probably not going to happen but 5% is what the probability was, so it's probably not going to happen. But there's, at least some chance for, occasional organization of convection to be enough to get some warnings here, as we're looking at things, a little bit more than maybe on some of the summertime days. But you see these temperatures very hot, 96 the actual air temperature in Tallahassee. There's been a heat advisory in place. We're looking out that way. Feels like with the heat index 104 there. And I go back to the air temperature numbers again, 95, the air temperature Lake City, Live Oak, same story, 97 up toward about Asta there, 97 in Waycross. So these are some very dramatic temperatures, and just outside of the area, 97 in Jessup there as well. So that really tells the story. This is some extreme heat here in some ways as we're looking at things this afternoon. So we have to be very mindful here of what we're dealing with, as we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things here with the overall weather picture. So let me go ahead and jump back over to the we'll just keep it in Melbourne Radar, I guess, since that's the closest one to that severe warning. Since Jacksonville's still down and having issues with that one there, where there's some maintenance, but it's been down a little while at this point. You see around Georgetown there, Crescent City area. I know the reason about the radars, they're so important to try to get an idea of what's going on, closer to the surface. But if you have to rely on one further away, from the storm axe and you're looking a little bit higher up, so you don't know exactly what's really happening down closer to the ground level. So that's important, data that we're missing out on right now. But as we're looking out there toward Tallahassee, let's switch to the Tallahassee radar. You see in Liberty County, this may be getting close to getting a warning in the rural area around Sumatra there. And you can see maybe a little weaker rotation possibly there. Yeah, that's probably this boundary action. Yeah, that's probably not really rotation, but you kind of get the idea. We have some wind enhancement and, some different wind scenarios trying to take place out that way. So as we go ahead and keep on looking at things here, 3:51 p.m. the warning goes another 9 minutes within the coverage area. I know, let's look at the 12-hour rainfall here. You can see, looking out here in toward Crescent City, some areas getting a good bit of rain even in the last hour, more so in the last hour even, an inch plus down there. Just got to be really cognizant. I noticed down right on the edge of the area here, about 2 inches in the last hour west of Ormond Beach. As we're looking down that way, you see we're just continuing to track the situation here very carefully. We're just continuing to give you guys the latest here on what's going on. So important, obviously. Just trying to check everything out for you. Just going through all our different sources here. Let me see where else I want to go with this. We have some warnings toward Mississippi this afternoon. Warnings in Illinois. Only a 20% chance of a watch getting issued up there. There are no watches in the country right now. I know we have seen a reoccurrence, lesser degree obviously than July 4th, but some flash flooding's been an issue out toward Texas early this morning. There was a flash flood emergency in San Saba County. I know we've had a lot of rain areas, there east of Valley Spring there, about 9-10 inches. And not seeing the rain now, but they've seen more storms there, not helping out, recovery efforts there in Kirk County, where we've seen, just numerous fatalities from the flooding going back to July 4th morning, and then just numerous missing. I mean, the numbers are, just staggering, really, as we go ahead and continue to watch. They are extraordinarily high in such a sad way as we go ahead and, just always got to remember to have the no other radios on hand here. Something that's really, needs to be brought up here to make sure folks have a way, to get alerts in addition to the other methods that people already use, like with cell phones and the like. So, very important here to keep in mind as we're tracking things here. The cellular devices, and there's one method that folks use, but again, weather radios can be really helpful. I know folks use media, and the like here, as well, but weather radios can be another point of reference for severe conditions. Looking like we just got an update with some of the warning activity. Let me go ahead and see what we're dealing with here. Bear with me as I get some more information in. It looks like they're letting the warning iron expire at 4, but now the Melbourne office has issued a warning. This is south of the covered area for portions of Lake and Volusia counties. They're talking about Lake George. They're really concerned about that area as lightning can strike out to 15 miles from the parent thunderstorm. Of course, we had a terrible tragedy in Volusia County last month with the lightning as well there. So we got to be careful in those areas, the waterways, and that's really where you can have big problems with lighting. If you're to toss object, that can be, deadly. Instead of hitting a tree or, hitting an antenna or something, it could hit you, and that could be, something where you have tragic consequences. Maybe like what we saw toward, Ware County on Thursday, or, where the person, critical condition at the last check there towards St. Augustine. That lightning strike situation yesterday there on the St. Augustine Pier. Again, lightning very, very serious. It can be, and really the numbers would suggest really more deadly than just the summertime severe thunderstorms with just the wind, aspect that we come on for the lightning. I mean, there's lightning most days in summer. We can't be on for every storm of lightning, obviously, here. That's just not feasible. As you're looking at things, you just gotta really remember whenever thunder roars, go indoors. It can be so tragic, so serious here. As we're looking at things here, all the electrical energy here that, those are so hot and just have so much power to them that it can be, just a deadly scenario. As we go ahead and continue to look at things here, continue to track things, let me go ahead and see where else we want to go there with this. Let's talk about the tropics. We do have an area that we'll be watching here, that's in our vicinity here as we're looking at things. There's a 20% chance of development as we look ahead over the next 7 days. What I'm thinking right now, it seems like we do have to watch some for the enhanced moisture here in Florida, especially as they get over the next few days. But then past that, the chance of tropical development will be more likely further out toward the west in the Gulf of Mexico, and then we could have an issue around New Orleans or something like that. So we just have to be paying attention here as we're tracking things in toward the weather center. I mean, maybe further west than that. It could be, somewhere else in Louisiana or even into southeast Texas. But some models are trying to be a little bit more aggressive here with something developing. It's hard to say where it would go at this point, but it's too early to say because we're still, haven't seen it develop, and we're pretty far out in the timeline. But just have to stay tuned. Could be closer toward the upcoming weekend, or maybe just before toward Louisiana or Texas, or even, southern Mississippi East, Mobile area, not out of, harm's way either at this point. It's too early to know what could happen with all that. I know we just got the latest SPC outlook in here. There's a marginal risk of severe weather today for most of the area still. So that means we got to stay tuned for the very latest here as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things. Could have more severe warnings, but even if you don't have them, every single lightning strike on here, could be, really hazardous as we're, seeing things. Some of them definitely really are, and if they're positive strikes, those are much more dangerous and negative. We can't differentiate on this map, but I know there are some maps that you can get that differentiation on there, but positive strikes, the ones that are cloud to ground, those are the ones that, are deadly. Some are just cloud to cloud. You hear the rumble of thunder, but they don't actually, strike anything down toward the surface. But those cloud to ground ones, those are the ones that can be so tragic and so heartbreaking, Yeah, we had that heartbreak there in Ware County on Thursday, and yesterday in St. Johns County. A really serious situation taking place, as well as lightning. A couple others injured, but then one in critical condition at the last check there toward the St. Augustine Pier in that situation. Just not good news at all. As we're looking at all the electrical energy here, you just got to be very cognizant. Things can happen this time of year in a hurry. And it's obviously not good here when that, happens. As we go ahead and continue to look at things here. Let me go ahead and let me put our model guidance on here. Zoom out a little bit here as we're looking at things. It's not really picking up on some of the current action, to be quite honest, but we're trying to watch another special weather statement now at 4:15 for Crescent City, but no new severe thunderstorm warning for that area. But as you're looking here at the model, you see the progressive. Let me take these temperatures off. That's a little too much on there. I'll take the risk off too. But we'll be watching today the risk of for sure. But then watch out northeast. You kind of see some spin. This model's been showing it. This run is coming in, but the earlier run was trying to spin east of us more than what other guidance is really not, showing stuff developing if it gets past our area. This was trying to say something a little bit different here. So you see some spin even off of east central Florida there tomorrow. So we'll have to just kind of watch to make sure something doesn't happen here, become more organized. But if nothing else, you have more enhanced rain chances here for Florida in the days to come. So just have to be watching out there. So definitely something to kind of stay tuned about here in that regard. So I'm just going to be watching out for that situation here as we're looking at all the different technologies. So some strong thunderstorm action in our southern fringes, severe warning just south toward Lake and Volusia counties now, portions of those counties anyway, and then we have this storm here south of Wilma, southeast to Weewahitska. As we're looking up to see if that gets a warning, it's a pretty rural area. Probably wouldn't just jump back in for it unless something really ramped up with it. Even if we just get, a severe thunderstorm warning, that wouldn't be enough to maybe stick with it here. Probably have to have like a tornado warning, obviously coming for all those in our area or something, really enhanced, because that's such a rural area already on the front of the reviewing circle. It's the Metro Wilma area, but as we continue to watch here, I know Brevard County got a warning now, popping up to 445, Merritt Island area, outside of our area, obviously, but Rockledge, Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island, Patrick Air Force Base, and the community of Sun Tree, there with this. So Cocoa Beach, another area, whenever thunder roars, you gotta get indoors here, folks. There's some of that wind enhancement we gotta be cognizant of as well. So we're just gonna keep on, tracking things here. That's down, once you get south of Flagler and Marion and Putnam, you're talking about the Orlando TV market there, toward the southeast of those zones. I mean, technically, Marion and Flagler are already in it, but, in terms of us not covering, we don't cover Volusia or Lake or Brevard or, Orange, things like those communities, those counties here, unless it's like a hurricane or some big tornado outbreak or something like that in general. So again, as we're looking here at things, you can see this severe warning just south of the area there around Pearson. We do have an advisory for some of the action in Flagler County right now. Let me see, I know the radar is being, down there toward Jacksonville, is making it harder to figure out. Sometimes these will go warned, and they definitely, may need it. It's just hard to tell really, as easily that generally is this time of year. So because we have the closer radar, this one we're having to look 13,000 feet up, 11,000 feet up, depending on where you're at here with this. And we're seeing winds to 50 miles an hour, but on the velocity, we're having to see what the winds are higher up. We don't know. Sometimes winds to the surface, they can be not as high as what they look like on here. Other times it can be the opposite, where the winds are actually quite a bit higher down toward the ground. So that's something that's tricky here. We're having to look this high up. It's kind of a little bit of a, educated guessing game. So as we go ahead and continue to give you guys the latest here, we're about to wrap it up unless we get any local warnings here, but that's kind of the storyline right now. Appreciate everybody tuning in and trusting me here on all the different platforms. I see Top Cat and watching there on YouTube. Some folks are watching on Twitch there. And then we'll have to see Sean there on YouTube. We'll see if we get Dexter here. That's the next name on the list. Right now, 20% chance. But honestly, there might be a little bit better chance than that as we're looking ahead. But right now, it's too early to know for sure. As we're giving you guys the very latest here. As we're looking at things and as we're tracking things. So I know on Twitch we have a comment there. They want me to check on Europe weather, but don't really do that area, you know, outside of the U.S. here in general, unless it's like some really, really big story with a tropical cyclone or something. Even then, probably not really focusing too much on that. So I know there has been some big heat there, though, in Europe here lately. So that's something that they have to be mindful of. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it on up back here as warranted. Stay tuned for the latest. Stay safe, everybody.